If you grew up managing everyone's emotions, you probably still believe that keeping everyone else okay is your responsibility. In this video, I can explain where that belief came from and what it's been costing you ever since. Hey, hi, I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years and hundreds of thousands of people later, I can tell you this. The way out isn't managing everyone else better. It's self-differentiation, releasing the false self you were trained to be and reclaiming the clarity, peace, and lasting freedom. For many of you, let me first talk about your childhood dynamic. I want you to go back to the house you grew up in. You learned to read that house before you ever walked through the door. You could tell what kind of sound of a car in the driveway from the way the door closed, from the silence or the lack of it. You knew their footsteps. You knew which mood was walking in before they even said a word, and you adjusted to it. You got quiet, or you got helpful, or started anxiously cleaning your room, or doing chores, or you made yourself small. Whatever that might seem to need at the time. You were the one who kept things from blowing up. That was a job nobody ever told you that you'd been handed. Why the family wired you this way? A child who has to manage a parent's emotions can't afford to have their own. Your attention was pointed outward at them, at reading them, at keeping them okay. It was always important to know what is going on outside you with others. You had no space or awareness of what was going on inside you, and no one was asking. So the part of you that should have been building something else never got the chance. Most kids slowly develop an inner compass. They learn, I feel this, so I need that. They learn that what's going on inside them matters and that somebody will respond to it. That's how a person comes to know who they are. You built one skill instead, and you built it to a master's level, reading someone else's state and responding to it. You became an expert on everyone but yourself. And that training didn't stop when you grew up or moved out. It's still running today. Let me show you the 4 places you feel it most. Let me explain. You feel responsible for how everyone around you feels. This one sits underneath all the other deeper dynamics. When someone near you is upset, you feel it as your job to help or fix them emotionally or mentally. Even to interfere, to calm them, or even to distract them, ameliorate the upset. I would make a joke, or change the subject for others, or interject some unrelated question. You might know that their mood has nothing to do with you, but it doesn't matter. The pull is automatic. I need to do something. I need to make this okay, or better in some way. I call this the family's emotional Wi-Fi. As a child, your emotional Wi-Fi was switched on all the time, connected to your parents, and everyone else constantly downloading their mood so you could stay a step ahead of it. In a safer home, a kid may be connected to the family superself, but it is benign and could be even helpful. They get to be in their own room, in their own world, not monitoring anybody. You never got that, so your signal was always on. When we say, you just wanted to be a kid, meant that you were not burdened by the adult world, adult problems, or assigned roles to over or under function in the family. Again, as adults, we are still connected to the Wi-Fi and the family superself. You go through your whole adult life connected to everyone, your partner, your boss, your friend who suddenly goes quiet. You pick up feelings that were never yours to carry, and you treat every one of them as something you're supposed to solve or react to. In fact, many call this having unresolved attachments. I believe it's even deeper than this. I like a systems view that sees the family emotional bonds that continue to organize your thinking, your feelings, your identity, and behavior. And this process is living way beyond the early process we needed in our development as kids. Emotional attachment is normal and needed for us as human beings. The problem comes when this attachment gets in the way of our developing our own sense of self and limits us in our work of self-differentiation. This is why I don't use the notion of unresolved attachments very often. It's not a bad term, it just doesn't explain enough of how it functions more deeply. For example, the problem isn't that as an adult you just can't tell your parents no or what you need or want. It's the underlying fear, guilt, shame, obligation, and expectations of others that are controlling you, your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs. So it isn't your parents' fault and they need to fix it. It is our functioning, and this is something we can address, fix, adjust, and actually heal. Often, unresolved attachments carry over from several generations. Secondly, let me ask you something. What do you want? Not what's responsible or what's reasonable, not what wouldn't upset anybody. What do you actually want? For a lot of you, the question comes back empty, and you've decided that's a flaw in you. How silly or immature you must be to be 45 years old and you can't identify what you want or need or what you want to be when you grow up, for example. I know how this feels. I have said and felt all of these things. You may feel strongly that you are indecisive or that you lost yourself somewhere along the way, but you didn't lose anything. It was never built. You spent your childhood tracking what everyone else needed, because in that house, you weren't the one who mattered in the equation. You were the one who adjusted. So you became fluent in other people and a stranger to yourself. You can read what everyone else in the room wants in a second, but ask yourself the same thing, and there's just static. Also, you are quietly drawn to people who need managing. What I'm about to share may feel uncomfortable because it isn't about your childhood. It's about who you picked up afterwards. You think you keep ending up with difficult people by accident, but you don't. You're drawn to them, to the unpredictable ones, the big moods, the constant low-grade crises, and the calm, steady, available people can feel a little boring to you, like there's nothing there for you to do. Because managing somebody is the only way you ever learn to be closer, to connect with a person. In your childhood, love wasn't safety. Love was work. So now a relationship that doesn't need managing doesn't even register as love. It registers as empty. And you go back to the same dynamic that wore you out, because it's the only one that feels like home. Also, peace makes you anxious. And maybe the strangest one of all, you'd think calm would feel good, but instead, the second things go quiet, with nothing to fix and nobody to manage, you get restless. It is easy for children in their developing years to get addicted to drama. When things are quiet or calm, you start hunting for the problem you must be forgetting or avoiding or not seeing. Because in your house, calm was never the end of the storm. It was the pause before the next one, and your body learned to trust it. Which is why you feel tired in a way that sleep doesn't touch. You've been on call since you were a child, and you never once got to clock out. A woman I worked with said it better than I can. She told me, I realized I wasn't living, it was surviving. So what does all this mean? None of this is a flaw in your character. Not the monitoring, not the blank when somebody asks what you want, not the exhaustion. I need you to really hear that. This was never weakness, and it was never you being too much. Your intolerance for calmness or more healthy normalcy, your difficulty letting others in, your struggle in finding friends, jobs, and a tribe who is healthy for you. It's not your fault. As I tell many, you were 0% responsible for your family's programming, but now you are 100% responsible for your recovery and healing. It was a survival skill, and a brilliant one. You were a child in a situation you didn't choose, and you kept yourself safe the only way that you could, by becoming the expert on everyone else. It worked. The problem is, it was never meant to last a lifetime. Generally speaking, the danger is gone, but the program is still running, and this is the line I want you to sit with. You are still managing emotions that aren't in the room anymore. You're still reading the house you moved out of years ago, still bracing for footsteps that aren't coming. I should mention, if you are still frequently heavily involved with a family who has many problems and has difficult dynamics or a narcissistic parent, then it certainly makes sense that you would continue to fear the same dynamics and anxieties you had growing up, even now. This is also why the usual advice has never worked for you. Just set boundaries, just relax. That advice was written for people whose wiring is different from yours. You can't think your way out of a survival response. The work goes deeper than that. So what's the path forward? Where does it go from here? It starts with one quiet, radical skill: getting your emotional Wi-Fi back under your own control, learning to feel someone else's storm and recognize this is theirs, not mine. I don't have to absorb it. I can stay myself while they have their feelings or breakdown or drama. That's the beginning of getting the family system out of you. Not just moving away from it, but taking it out from the inside where it's been living all this time. And on the other side of that work is something you may have never actually had: your own feelings, your own wants, a self. You are allowed to have one. If everything I just described sounds like your life, I want you to know the managing can actually end, not by trying harder and not by just putting more distance between you and your family. It ends when you learn to separate your own emotional self from everyone else's. That's the work inside my Road to Self program. People ask me all the time, well, how do I do these things? It's difficult to explain all the solutions and practicalities in the short videos I have on YouTube. The people who join the program tell me the same thing over and over. It was the missing piece, the step that finally helped them get their family out of them and stand as their true self with real clarity and peace. If you're not sure it's for you yet, that's fine. Then start where over 50,000 people have started, with my free 84-minute self-differentiation training. The links to both are in the description. And if you can't find it in the description, go to my website, Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. If this video put words into something you've carried your whole life, please subscribe, comment. I read folks' comments on YouTube. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.